Hello, everybody. We're back, and what a treat do we have in studio today. I have in my presence evangelist, bishop, presiding prelate of the Washington, D.C. area, the Reverend Jeremiah Hicks, and First Lady, his mother, Tyonnie Hicks. I said that right. I'm so happy with myself. I don't know this. I don't know what to do with myself. But thank you for coming.
Thank you,
Jeremiah. It's a pleasure for having you. And we're going to have your dad back. I'm going to have your dad on the show at some point because this family here is a powerful family.
Wow.
Your brother?
Yeah.
Are there any more siblings?
It's
just your brother?
Yep.
All y'all have that look. Yep. It's the forehead,
it's the forehead.
And the eyes, like look through your soul type of look. You know, is that Hicks?
Wow.
See you coming. You know what I'm saying? And your dad says, "Am I right about it?"
Exactly.
But man, listen, you are one of the most phenomenal singers in this country.
Wow.
Forget about DMV area, in this country. Wow. I haven't heard a voice like yours in a long time. You are an anointed artist. You're a fine young man, as they say. Wow. I'm 43 now. I can say you're a fine young man. You've really grown into your own. You're a wonderful preacher.
Wow.
And I'm sure she had something to do with this. But talk about your beginnings. When did you know that you could really sing?
Wow. Well, I started at the age of 2. Mm-hmm. I found a love for music. And my parents saw that. They saw that, and they thrusted me and pushed me into music. And from then on, it's just history. I of course, I grew up watching Bobby Jones. Mm-hmm. Who didn't? If you're in gospel, you grew up watching Bobby Jones gospel.
Show him some love.
Exactly. And I would tell my parents, one day I'm going to sing on that stage, and I would say little things like that because I felt a connection to gospel music, and I felt a connection to being able to minister to people from that platform and to bless God. And the rest is history, and so, of course, my parents, they put me in piano lessons when I was a kid.
Wow.
My attention span wasn't too good, so I wasted their money for a couple of years.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know. I'm going to put this out here. My mom used to take piano lessons.
Is that right?
She used to take piano lessons, and see, she's not going to say too much about it. We actually, in our house, we have a piano that she grew up playing on. And so when I took piano lessons, she would sit there and help me figure out the notes. She doesn't do any of that right now, but my parents pushed me, and they saw that I loved music, and here I am today, still doing it.
And so when would you, as far as the calling to preach is concerned, when did you realize that you were called to preach?
Okay, well, people had told me for years, man, you're going to preach, and people say that because your parents are preachers, and it was the last thing I wanted to hear. It was the last thing I wanted to hear, but I was 18 years old, and I was going to PG Community College at the time, and I was ironing my clothes. And in the midst of ironing my clothes, God spoke to me and said, I want you to preach. I locked the door, started crying. I was still living in my parents' house. And I got in my truck and started heading to school. As soon as I got to 495, I called back to my parents. And I said, God called me to preach. And I literally lost it. Like, I started crying. And my mom was like, for real, Jeremiah, for real? Mm-hmm. For real. And they prayed with me. And I went to school and I came home. And then that began the training for that. And I'd watched my dad and my mom all of my life preaching and teaching the gospel. And they are my greatest examples in life and in ministry, my greatest examples. So I owe them. I owe them for who I am today. Amen. I owe them.
What was Jeremiah like as a child?
Oh my, this is the other side of the story. He was a very happy, fun-loving kid. He loved people all the time. From a baby, he came out smiling. I could give him to a perfect stranger, and he would be just as happy and content doing that. So he was a happy kid, but the other side of that, he was very mischievous. So whenever we went anywhere, whether it was a birthday party, relatives, or store, I always had to keep my ears open and my eyes very watchful because something was going to go down with somebody's something. He was just that kind of guy. I coined him the Black Dennis the Menace.
Is that right? The Black Dennis the Menace.
That's exactly who he was. The only thing that the other one had was a TV show. But he was that kind of guy. But overall, he was a sensitive guy. He loved his family. He was, from a very, very young age, he was always in tune to what was going on in the house. If something happened that was sad, he would always come with a very encouraging word. It would be okay, or I love you. But he would know what's going on, and I would look at him and go, wow. So I could sense discernment. I could sense a sense of prophecy in him because he was just that kind of kid. He was always in tune. But overall, he was a good kid, and what we saw in him younger, his dad and I saw that, so we tried to prune him and put him in the way of things that would just enhance who he was and to bring out the person that he is now.
What age was that when you saw something special in him? You're like, oh, this guy's going to be something really big. He's going to do something really big. What age was that?
Believe it or not, it really started around 1. I could sense around 1. But then when he became 2, as he said, he could pick up sounds, and he would be his grandmother, who was the one who would keep him while we were working. And he would be down at she told us one day they were down at the washing machine, and the washing machine was going, and he heard the sound of the washing machine, and he could sense it and pick it up. So even at age 2, he was allowed to go and sing on the youth choir. He was the youngest youth choir that was ever allowed to sing at the ministry. He would somebody would pick him up and carry him to the choir. He would sing and do his moment, and after that, when the preaching came, he would sleep. So we saw that, and from
I did the same thing.
Yeah, so it was okay. We said that was all right. He would get the word later.
I don't sleep now,
But
though.
not in church. He doesn't.
Well, he's the minister of music now.
He doesn't have time.
He has an
can't
office.
sleep.
He has an
I can't.
office. You know?
I can't sleep now.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
transition to that. You are serving with your dad in ministry at New Home. How is that? What is that like? I know sometimes it doesn't work, but for you, it seems like it's working.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing because, a lot of parents are protectors of their children. I am a child. I'm a protector of my parents. And so I feel a call and obligation, not just to my church, but also to my parents to help push the vision. I've seen them at the weakest state. I've seen them at their strongest state. And and as I've progressed and got older, they showed me and talked to me, had honest conversation with me about where they felt ministry was, where they felt they were. It was never in a bunch of secrets. It was like, this is where we are. And they were honest with me. And so I always felt that sense of, wow, I need to be here to support what they're doing. And so serving in ministry with my parents it's a blessing. It's an honor that I can't even explain. Because I feel like God is allowing me to give back to them what they have given to me, and also to my home church, New Home, being able to serve there in that capacity. So of course I'm a PK. I love my parents, and beyond that, even whoever with the next phase, whoever my next pastor and first lady is, I'm going to be indebted to whoever they are, because I look at whoever I've done background for people, and whoever I've served with, I've always treated their ministry like it was my own baby. So it doesn't matter whether they're relatives or my parents or not. That's just my nature. That's how I was raised up. That's how I was trained. So of course, because my parents are my leaders, I feel an extra obligation. So not only do I feel like I am a part of a seed of their ministry, I also feel like I'm their protector. I'll do whatever it takes to help push them when they're weak, when they're not as strong. And I think that anybody who learns how to serve under leadership should take that perspective to hold your leaders up. Some people say, I only follow you when you're right, but guess what? We're human. None of us are 100% right.
Right.
So even if it's a decision I don't agree with my dad, guess what? He's the chief worship leader, whether he sings or not. He's the chief worship leader, not me. So I have to follow that vision. So it's been training ground and character building for me.
What's it like being a minister of music?
Oh, it's rewarding because it's my foundation. It's my foundation. I believe that I believe in the 80-20 rule. 80% of who I am, I can teach music, I can sing 80%. I'm sorry, that's the 20%. The 80% is being able to deal with personalities against my personality.
Oh my.
That's the 80%.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so that's training ground, is character. And I had to realize, and still realizing, that in all that I have to deal with, that God is building me. What can I learn from this lesson? So when I go out and I'm able to do ministry, and I go out and I'm able to do other things, I realized that my training ground is my home. So being the minister of music, I look at that. That's where I get a chance to till the ground. That's where iron sharpens iron. That's where I get to make my mistakes, so that when I go out to other people, I'm able to be sharpened. So that's the area where, you know, I've encountered my weaknesses. I've encountered my strengths, and it's built me to be who I am today.
First Lady, what is your role at the church? What have you been doing in ministry at the church?
Well, for the last more than 30 years, I've first of all been a supporter.
Amen.
To my husband. That is my first calling, just by nature, to uphold him in the ministry, because I see him in a place and a time where others don't. Many people see him at his strong point when decisions are made and he's solid where he wants to go. I'm the person that sees I'm not sure, I don't know. So I am that person that stands there to pray for him, to tell him, you can do this. If this decision doesn't work out this time, then there's always a B plan that we can work. So my first role is to my family. And I have always wholeheartedly, unapologetically, and still proclaimed that's the best calling ever, is to support. And I happen to have all men in my life, 3 men, and I support them wholeheartedly. There's very rarely a time that my husband is anywhere that I'm not there. And usually if I'm not there, it's because I was taking care of the babies or just really something that came up. So that's my first calling, and that's the first place that I have established in the ministry. And then too, through that, I found that God had given me a calling to be able to teach the word.
Amen.
And so that's what I do. I don't preach. I know now teaching is not quite as relevant as it used to be, but I'm just a basic Bible authentic teacher because I love the word of God. My calling is not particularly to a woman or to a youth. It's just to the people. I love to teach the men. My husband has given me the opportunity for the last year or two to do Father's Day. Traditionally, women do Mother's Day.
All right now.
Because I figured that I've lived with a man for over 30 years. I've reared 2 sons. I know a little something
Yeah, absolutely.
about a man. So that's been my calling. Of course, to be there and to love the people and to allow the people to be who they are. And anybody that walks into that room, whether you're a PhD to a no degree, anything, to make everybody feel like you're important and that you're a part, and God's house is for everyone.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Jeremiah, you're an artist. You have a project out. Let's briefly talk about that project. It's out. Everybody, please go out. If you haven't bought Jeremiah Hicks yet, go out and get that project. It's a wonderful project. I enjoy the music on there.
Thank you.
It points us to God, which I love as well. But talk about that project really.
Well, yeah, it's a vertical project. It's called A Worship Heart. And God gave me that title actually 2 years before I recorded it, or before I even knew who I would record it with, or before the songs even came. And I shared it with my parents. And basically, I have an off the line, I guess, rendition or of what that means. But a worship heart to me really is someone who is imperfect, that literally tries all they can to please God. That's pretty much what a worship heart is. It doesn't mean I'm perfect. I'm not perfect. I have a lot of flaws. I don't always think, say, and do what I'm supposed to do. But at the end of the day, I know that God's grace and mercy covers me. But not alone, there's an obligation and responsibility as a saved person, as a believer, as a worshiper, that I owe God my life. And so there are some things that I need to trim off, shave off, kill daily in order for God to be pleased. So I put this project out, A Worship Heart. It just features some songs that are dear to my heart. Some I co-wrote with a writer's block team, and then some I wrote by myself, just to kind of just share my heart. And I think for my first project, it's sometimes, and I know you've done several. It's my first project, so it was me just really trying to get my heart out.
Right.
And also in the industry, it's kind of like my resume right now of, okay, Jeremiah Hicks has something out. So I'm excited to continue to share my journey, what God is sharing with me as I continue to progress and mature.
1 minute, we can't end this broadcast or this interview without talking about your wonderful family.
Yes.
You have a beautiful family.
Yes.
I just saw the picture you just posted, and of course, my man talked about your blazer, but there's nothing wrong with your blazer. He tried to blaze, tried to fire your blazer.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Talk about your wife and child.
My wife Tanisha, we've been married for almost 7 years in September. And we have grown together as friends for the last 12 or 13 years. Hasn't always been easy, but God is so faithful to us, and I'm so grateful. She has added to me, and of course, out of that, our daughter Neve, who is the most energetic. I mean, she's not scared of anything. She's not scared of us. She's not scared of her grandparents. She's not scared of her great-grandparents. I hope she fears God a little bit.
Right.
You know, but she has taught us even how to be sometimes unfiltered in what we think of what, sometimes she'll say things, I'm like, I need to be a little bit more direct. And so she has added to us, and she is the life of our family. My grandparents, my mom's parents are from the Eastern Shore. They now live here, and that little girl is just the life of the house. So she's a blessing. My wife is a blessing, and I'm honored to be able to serve in the capacity of husband and father, and I'm still learning how to become that and how to be that. So I'm grateful that God will consider me to connect me with such great spirits, great souls. And again, I am their protective. My wife, my daughter, I will pray if I have to. I will lay hands spiritually or physically if I need to. Because I love them. I love them. And I'm grateful. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show, man. This was awesome. This
Thank
has to be
you.
part one because I need y'all to come back with Pastor Hicks.
Yeah.
Let's talk about with the accident.
Yes.
And talk about the recovery and just all three of y'all together. I know it's gonna be. I'm gonna let y'all have your own segment.
We got to talk about you teaching me music in middle school too. Yeah. See, we didn't talk about that.
So thank you all, and we'll definitely bring you back.
Thank you.
Thank you so
y'all.
much.
Big shout out to Jeremiah Hicks and family.
For more information on how to become a guest on Real Talk with Philip Carter, or for general inquiries, please email us at realtalkwithphilipcarter@yahoo.com. Tune in next Monday for another edition of Real Talk with Philip Carter.